Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guess who's back? Us, me, your loving host, Joseph Dunham, also known as Joe D, here at the Good Service Podcast. We are so grateful for all of you and this opportunity to share this moment with you. So, for those of you that are here for the first time, welcome. However, which way you found us, we don't care. What matters is you're here to be inspired, to be reminded that there's so much love and light in the world happening. So, here at the Good Service Podcast, if you don't already know, we are your source, the number one source in the world for good news, wholesome stories, inspiring stories around the great things that service-based organizations are making happen in their communities for those that live there. So that's nonprofits, charities, fundraisers, foundations. There are even some for-profit companies that have a social impact mission and a heart for service. So they're always welcome here too. So that's who we are and what we do. Continue to come back and are part of our community and our audience. We thank you for the likes, the subscriptions, the referrals. Yes, the referrals, because how else are we going to touch all four corners of the world without knowing who's doing what in your amazing neighborhoods all over the world? So we're thankful for you. You are what drives us every day. But enough about me, enough about us. Let's talk about who's on the other side of the screen, the other side of the airwaves today. None other than today's guest. She is a force for good in the foster care space. Christie Simons is the inspiring executive director of Atlanta Angels, a nonprofit dedicated to walking alongside children, youth, and families in foster care community through consistent support and human connection. With a heart for service and a background in business and nonprofit leadership, Christie has made it her mission to ensure that no child in foster care walks alone. From launching community-driven initiatives to mobilizing volunteers across Georgia, she's rewriting what support looks like for foster families. So let's dive into her story, the impact of Atlanta Angels, and what it means to show up with intentional giving and consistent love. Please join me in welcoming a warm welcome for Christie Simons. Christie, welcome to the Good Service Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, we are so excited to have you, long awaited. So, how's it feel? How's life? What's going on?
Oh my gosh. It's good. So good. You know, the year feels like it's already flying by, but so it's, yeah, excited about all the things we have for the year and yeah, going great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I imagine through my research and seeing what the year looks like, there's a lot of great things ahead behind your mobilization and leadership. So, super excited to see you all take on the year in a major way. For our first time guests, I always like to share how I got introduced and how we at the Good Service got introduced to the Good Service Podcast. So this goes out to my guy, Tyler Royals. Tyler is a once coworker of mine at our days at Sales Loft. We became good friends then, and then years go by. We grow even more stronger in friendship and brotherhood through the study that I am fortunate to help facilitate. And yeah, we spend a lot of time together, whether that's outside of work and talking about work things or that's in Bible study. So he had shared through his line of work and also his heart to serve, his involvement. He has a mentee with Atlanta Angels. And so he's like, dude, you gotta sit down and talk to Christie. Like, Christie is just the sweetest ever, and they are doing great things. We're doing great things at Atlanta Angels. So shout out to T Royals. Appreciate you, brother. This goes out to you. This episode is made possible by you. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, a referral goes a long way. So email us, DM us, whatever you got to do to get a hold of us to let us know. But that is how I got to meet Christie. So I also do very high level, like to share just the mission of the organization. I know I want to highlight how awesome Christie is, but also how awesome the organization is. So again, their mission at Atlanta Angels is to walk alongside children, youth, and families in the foster care community by offering consistent support through intentional giving, relationship building, and mentorship. So, a handful of core values, if you will: hope, community, empowerment, curiosity, transformation, all beautiful things. And their vision, of course, is for every single child or youth who experiences foster care to have the opportunity to reach their fullest potential. And every family who fosters is radically supported on that journey. So uh, I'm just, I got so many questions, obviously, but major one and the first one, Christy, is tell us about how you got here as the co-founder of the Atlanta Angels uh, chapter, the executive director. What's a little bit of your life journey? What does that look like for those who may not know who you are and how you arrived in such a seat?
Sure. Yeah, so my husband and I adopted our daughter through the foster system here in Georgia. It was a little bit unexpected and untraditional. Not that there is a kind of traditional way in foster care. Every story looks a little bit different, but she was born to my husband's cousin, so we weren't we didn't have an open foster home at the time. We're looking for placements. It was a little bit of a um, God's timing kind of thing. We had talked about adoption. We had talked about fostering before, and then we got a call about this baby that had been placed in the foster system, and actually jokingly refer to it as the "oh by the way" conversation. My husband's a pretty laid back guy, and we were had been married a few years, both working, and were watching TV, like relaxing at the end of the night. And on a commercial break, he was like, "Oh, by the way, do you remember?" And just kind of initiated this conversation. I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, taking it, it took me so off guard. And by the next morning, I was like, "That baby is ours." And what do we do? Like, what are the next steps? I mean, it didn't take long. And to feel pretty sure in our hearts, it did take a long time. We had to kind of fight for 9 months to bring her home. We were out of state at the time, so we went through kind of a complicated process called ICPC, or the Interstate Compact for the Placement of Children. And we actually spent 6 of those months driving down every single weekend. We were in North Carolina and she was in Georgia, and we would leave work on Friday, drive down, spend the weekend with her, and drive back home and do it all over again for 6 months.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really hard time, and saw a lot of the challenges during that time of the lack of support for foster parents. And of course, when she came home, it was just the best day ever. We walked into court literally not knowing that day that we were bringing her home. So it was kind of a crazy surprise that day. And yeah, I mean, the rest is kind of history. A lot's happened since then. She's 11 now. But it was, yeah, it was a pretty wild year. And then another 2 years later, finalized her adoption.
So amazing. So amazing. Thank you for sharing. And it's such a wholesome, story in the conversation that you and your husband had about being open to adoption, and then the "oh by the way." I feel like that's a lot of us fellas out here that were kind of laid back. It's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I've been thinking about this," or "Do you remember this conversation from a year ago, 6 months ago, whenever it maybe happened?" And then it's like, "Oh yeah, we took action on that." It's like, "We or you, Mister?" So uh, no, that is so amazing. And when you thought about being a mother, was fostering or adopting at the front of it for you, or was that a conversation that through this experience that opened your eyes up to it?
It's something that I always felt would be a part of my story. Of course, we weren't sure what that would look like, or how, or private or foster care after having our own kids, or what. We did walk through several years of infertility, and so at the time we were kind of in the midst of that. And um, it's funny you asked about what being a mom looked like for me, because I went through a lot of different kind of iterations of that, and a lot of sort of questioning that myself, and even questioning, I had always kind of had this identity for myself of mom even before I was. And so really kind of laying that down and saying, is that's something that I'm creating for myself, or something that God really has for me. And, um, so it was kind of through this process of, challenging season of infertility, and some grieving of, of what we thought it would look like, that God kind of opened this door. And, we always tell, our little girl that, God just made her for us. And the way he brought her into our lives was a little bit different. And that's absolutely how I know we both feel. As soon as we met her, we're like, well, that's our daughter for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So it was, I always knew adoption would be a part of my story. I did not expect it to be exactly this way, or not that I had really planned out exactly what it would look like. But you don't know what you don't know, and God laughs at plans. So that's kind of how our story went. But was something that I felt pretty strongly about from fairly early on, actually. So it wasn't uh, yeah, something I always felt pretty called to.
No, it's first off, thank you for sharing so vulnerably your story, and just how you came about accepting what God has. And like you said a moment ago, God laughs at plans because we all have plans. Don't we all have plans? Because my plans were to never be a podcast host.
Yeah. Right.
I never in a million years been like, yeah, I'm gonna be a podcast host. I'm gonna live in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, absolutely not. What? I was supposed to be playing on Sundays, or the professor, as I'm doing the playing on Sundays and other things, right? Being in the community, of course, is here in this moment. No, no.
Yeah.
Uh, I just I love that, and it's so real too because he has so much better for us always, and we're
Hmm.
sometimes so short sighted to only want what we want, and it has to look this way. And meanwhile, we have a flower, and he's got a whole bouquet ready for us.
Hmm.
We just
Yeah.
have willing to accept it, and lay our plans down. I appreciate you sharing that with us today in this moment. And then as that the process was going on with your daughter, and you were seeing that. So as you were going through the process of adopting yourself and seeing what the lack of support looked like, how did that play into you saying, I'm going to become the executive director for Atlanta Angels? Tell us about how you got to that point, going from board to executive director and leading an amazing
Mhm.
chapter here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, again, not one of those things that was part of my plan. It's funny you bring up adjunct professor. I was doing that. I was the director of a counseling center. Um, Teaching was really what I had always wanted to do, and walking through the 3 years that we did in the system really had to do so much learning and self advocacy, and advocacy for our daughter, and felt the lack of system support for sure. But we had really great community support, and it really wasn't for another few years that I kind of felt this call. We were actually taking our daughter to a Braves game after we had moved back to Atlanta, and was watching her. I recently found this video, because I was videoing her literally dancing her way into the stadium. Like, she just Brave super fan, was so excited to be there. And as I was watching her, I was kind of just reflecting on my own about how happy I am that she gets to grow up with these memories and experiences. Kind of immediately, what came to my mind were the thousands of children in foster care whose stories are very different, and who, instead of, being in their adoptive home before age 1, and, growing up with happy memories and experiences, have continued instability and trauma, and, those who end up aging out of care. And so really felt in that moment this desire to do something on a larger scale, and obviously knew that, my husband and I, maybe we could adopt one or two or a few more kids, but wouldn't really put a dent in the 3,000 children who are in foster care in Metro Atlanta. But there are lots of other people, who could do something. And so was kind of wrestling with that calling, and what does this look like, and developing a mission and a plan. And a few months into that, was at a conference and learned about National Angels, and was just so directly aligned with exactly what I was trying to do. And as they went through where chapters existed, and Atlanta was not one of them, I immediately, and when I say immediately, like, I got up, I walked out of the conference, and I got up my phone and I emailed, and I was like, how do I bring a chapter to Atlanta? And that's the point at which I would say, really, like, the rest is history. I did not know what I was getting myself into by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But that was kind of, my journey into it. It was sort of didn't look back much after that. Felt pretty sure pretty quickly that, like, this was it. We could provide, mentoring and community support for fostering families, and ensure that they aren't alone. Luckily, somebody else, Alex, had reached out shortly after I did, and they connected me with her. She lived right around the corner from me, and was a current foster parent. And, so we co-founded and launched together.
So exciting. I love that.
Yeah.
Just in the moment, you put yourself out there. Again, how God works. It's just like, I got something for you. There's answers. He always answers prayers with opportunity. It's like, you pray for patience, he's going to give you an opportunity to be patient. It's like, great. This, like,
Yeah.
thank you. Just to hear that you were in that moment, and just to hear him, and to be like, move. And you went out and you made it happen. Unknowingly, this would be the beginning of the rest of your life again, in a way. So, so excited.
I think those who know me wouldn't be that surprised that I'm like, oh, this is it. Okay, let's go. Let's move now. I'm pretty once I got it, we're gonna move forward pretty quick. What a lot of times people don't see are I've been thinking about it for months, right? So
Mm-hmm.
not a super impulsive decision, but gonna act once I feel sure.
Mm-hmm. And like, that's when you know, and it's
Yeah.
time to go. Time to go. So, I love that. And tell us more about your journey. You've been in this seat now for almost 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
almost 6 years.
Yeah.
So, the what have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about what is going on? I think that'd be a great place to start. What is truly going on in the foster care community here in Atlanta? Because without my research, I only know a fraction of what you probably know. So I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
on what that's been like since you started, and now, and how the impact has grown.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my daughter's story is different in a lot of ways, but there were some things that had kind of planted the seeds of, like, how I would like it to be different. Um, there was a one court hearing that we were at, one of the times that we were at court, because we're family. There were me, my parents, my husband, his parents, her biological aunt, there were just a ton of us there. And we were taking up 2 rows in the courtroom, and the judge actually asked all of us to stand. He saw the, family here for Riley. Would you stand for a moment? We did. And when we did, he said, I just want to point out that for most of the kids in and out of my courtroom each day, there's not 2 rows of family here for them. And just want to, point out how lucky Riley is. And I remember he used the word lucky, and my reaction was like, that's not lucky. Every child deserves that. That's, just kind of a basic thing. And so, that was one of several experiences like that, where I thought, like, no, she's not lucky because of this. This is just what every kid deserves. And that's kind of our what we're trying to do and create. So, we have our vision that you shared at the beginning. My kind of personal vision or why has always been that every child would know that they are loved, valued, and worthy. And over time, I've learned more and more about the outcomes for kids who do remain in the system, and every time I do, my thought typically is that could have been my daughter, right? So it's really personal. It's not just a statistic. It's like these are real kids. And one I remember actually hearing on a podcast with our National Angels founder, Susan Ramirez. She shared that 2/3 of youth who are aging out of the system within 1 year will be in prison, homeless, trafficked, or dead. And I remember I still can barely say that without, crying. But I remember just feeling like the wind was knocked out of me and thinking in that moment, like, that could have been my daughter. And that's not it. But like, that's got to change. And so, there are so many of those kind of upstream societal issues that have their roots in foster care. 75% of our prison population spent time in foster care, or half of our homeless population spent time in foster care. Estimates of 80% or more of our trafficked population spent time in foster care. So we say we want to change all these things, and you kind of go, upstream, and you find foster care at the root. Those are in line with what's happening here in Metro Atlanta. I've mentioned a couple times now 3,000 children in foster care. That's within, the approximately 10 county Metro Atlanta radius, and that's on any given day. So right now, that's how many children are in foster care. Within the span of a year, 5,000 children will enter and exit the foster care system in Metro Atlanta. We also know that they'll move several times while in care. It's harder to nail down an exact number there, but the Casey Foundation says 65% of kids who are in care for over 2 years will experience 3 or more placements. We know, because we've seen and worked with youth who are aging out, that some have experienced dozens of different placement changes. And each move is uprooting their entire life, right? It's not just a new home, it's new caregivers, it's a new school, and maybe a new church, and everything about their lives. And so, and part of what leads to that placement instability is that over half of foster homes close within the first year of opening because of lack of support. So half of our foster homes nearly are closing every single year. So in Georgia, what most people have heard is that we have a shortage of foster homes. And that's true. What they're maybe less aware of is that part of what's leading to that shortage is how quickly homes are closing after they do open. And so we need new people to step up and open their homes as foster parents. And we need to wrap really great support around the families who are fostering so that they can continue to foster. So those are some of the kind of the why and the current state of foster care. Nearly every county in Metro Atlanta has a shortage of foster homes. Kids are having to move outside of their home county, and when there's not an available foster home, they have to stay in a hotel or sometimes in a DFACS office. So that's kind of the reality of what happens when we don't have enough people ready and capable to provide those homes.
Yeah, no, it's the statistics are it's unsettling. It's one way to say that. I remember as I was doing my research and looking at just the national level, and then looking at the Atlanta, the 75% of those that may be incarcerated, and then just the 50% as well when it comes to attributing to being shelterless or homeless. And it's like what you said earlier, no one deserves that, especially our babies, these kids that, unfortunately, they didn't ask for these situations and to be put in these situations. And yet they have been. And so, uh, Atlanta Angels and just your all's heart to serve. Just I know you all are doing a lot of great things through your programming and volunteer and mentorship program, which we'll hit on in a moment. But just to share with everyone who's listening, who may not be here in Atlanta, because we are, a global platform. And so just to give folks a scope of what's going on in the foster care area within our 10 counties that make up, Metro Atlanta, that's a little bit for them as well. But just brings it more of a reality for me, even because I've been here 6 years and I plan to be here the rest of my life. Now, like, I've always been like, I'm gonna open a hospital, and it'll be free healthcare. I'm gonna open a school. It's gonna be free lunch and dinner and breakfast for all the families. Now I'm like, now I gotta open. Now I get the chance to open the foster care. So, like, just like adding to the list of all the big things that are going to happen. So thank you for that,
Love it.
Christy.
Love it.
So I'm like,
All the people supporting foster care community for sure. Love
absolutely. We
it.
got a couple champions and it's a good partner over there at the double A. But yeah, that's going to be next on my vision board. Is all right. Add the foster care unit or the foster care city, if you will. No, I just so amazing to hear your story and how that's been able to help inspire and keep you going through your own personal instances, and as you see this day in and day out with the children that you serve and the families that you serve. Um, when it comes to, because this is new to me, Tyler, has shared his story with me being a child, and that is a big part of his. Actually, I have a quote by Mr. Tyler Royal, if you will, because I asked him, I was like, "Hey, you're a great guy. You have a heart to serve. There's a ton of organizations in Atlanta you can be a part of. Why Atlanta Angels?" And it's like, it's important because first and foremost, he believes in mentorship. Secondly, growing up in foster care, this is a cause that is near and dear to his heart. So to have a mentee, to know what they're going through because he went through it, and to see the possibilities of having someone that's there consistently, that can help be a sounding board and be of hope and be of service, is invaluable to him. And so he's like, all right, Christy and the team and the organization have my back. So he doesn't know that I shared that until he listens. But
I don't think he'll mind. Tyler's been such an awesome supporter and mentor for his youth. Yeah.
He's one of the greatest. So would you mind just sharing, when you think about support for a foster family? So you said all these foster homes are closing sooner than they would probably anticipate or ever like. What are some of the things that they are missing, and then how are you all showing up to make sure they have those core pillar of resources?
Yeah, so we have a foster system, right? I don't think that's new to anybody. And it's called something different in each state. In Georgia, it's the Department of Family and Children's Services, or DFACS. And we have a child welfare system. Foster parents are licensed by DFACS, and they're a place that provides a safe home for children. And that's the kind of primary goal of the child welfare system, right? Is to ensure safety of kids. So they investigate allegations of abuse or neglect. They remove children when needed from unsafe situations, and then they find safe living situations and ultimately determine what kind of permanency looks like. The first goal is always reunification with their biological family. In cases when that can't happen, then it's adoption or a different type of permanency. I give that brief context to say the purpose of the foster system is to hold foster parents accountable, to ensure that they remain a safe home for the kids. The purpose is not to support the foster parents, right? So there's a lot of requirements of foster parents. There's a lot of being held accountable. There's a lot of hard things about fostering, right? If you're a parent, you know how hard it is to be a parent, let alone parent a child who, may have just come into your home that you don't have a history with. that you need to get enrolled in school, but you don't have access to the birth certificate. I mean, these are just some of the just a few of the things that foster parents experience. And so it can feel overwhelming. And on top of all of that, of course, you've got a child or children coming into your home who has a history of trauma, and trauma is going to, you know, show itself in different ways. Sometimes it's behavior, sometimes it's closing down. So, and so there's all this complexity with caring for these kiddos, and it's hard. It's really hard, and sometimes it feels lonely because people who aren't in this, who haven't experienced the system, just don't quite understand. Even when a child is reunified, which is always the goal, and it's happy and it's joyful, but if I've just parented that child for 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, and they leave my home, I'm going to experience grief, right? And so these are some of the things that maybe their kind of natural community or friends or people in their life just don't quite understand, right? How it's different, or what it takes. And so the number of times we've reached out to a foster family when we're reaching out to support them through our program that does support foster families, which is called the Love Box program. And foster parents have said, you're the first person who's ever asked us what we need as foster parents,
Mm,
not what the kids need or not how we can support the kids, but just what do we need, which I think is just so telling. So there, it's hard to answer your question is maybe my point, because each family and each parent's really different, and that is the really cool thing about our programs, is that they're intentional, they're relational, and they're really individualized to the family. So we do an intake with our families to understand, like, what are your strengths, what's going well, what could you use more support with, and then match them. Our program coordinator in our Love Box program then matches them with a volunteer who is a good fit for them, is aligned, one, geographically, but then based on maybe values or interests, and has the capacity to meet their needs. So that could just be emotional support. Sometimes it's just like, I need a listening ear. Sometimes it's meals. One of the ways that I describe, though, the importance of the relational piece of our program is, we all know meal trains, and they're awesome. What makes our program a little bit different is if a volunteer, if their Love Box leader is bringing them a meal, they're not dropping it at their door. They're staying and eating it with them, right? They're really building relationship with that family. They're playing with the kids. They're maybe helping with bedtime. I was a Love Box leader, and the family that we supported had kids around my daughter's age. So honestly, most months were like a play date. Like, I'd bring my daughter, the kids would play, but really importantly, the parents would go out and have some time alone.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so it looks really kind of different, match to match and family to family and even month to month, but is really just what our mission says, is walking alongside them, doing life with them, being someone in their corner, but who has a little bit more of an understanding of foster care, of trauma, and how we can really step into those gaps.
yeah. That is just, as I'm listening, I'm like, man, it takes a village, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
providing the community. You're providing
Mm-hmm.
that source of, again, a built-in friend or built-in support system that in other states and possible of organizations, they may not have that or think to have that and be as intentional, and as individualized as well, because no one size fits everybody,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
that just is super exciting, and gets me excited for you all about how you go about your care and your support. And I'm like, man, I just learned a little bit more than what I read. So I'm like, okay, I got it.
Oh, good, good.
Uh, Share with us. So you brought up the Love Box program. So I'd love for you to share with everybody the Love Box program and then the Dare to Dream. What the difference is, but kind of the purpose of each of those, because I found that very interesting. Outside, of course, mentorship and having a mentee, of course, but
Yeah.
the opportunity.
So Yeah, so those are our two core programs. The one I was just describing, that is our Love Box program. So that's where we are wrapping support around the entire foster family. And there's a couple of things that are similar across both programs. Both programs are a year-long commitment, so they're long-term relational programs. And both, really importantly, include the ongoing support of one of our staff members, a program coordinator. And that's really crucial to the success. So we don't just match the volunteer and say, good luck, you're on your own now. We continue to support, train, coach the volunteer, and provide resources and advocacy for the family or the youth. So in the Love Box program, we are matching the volunteer with the entire family to wrap really individualized support around them. The commitment's at least once a month for that year. And it looks, like I said, it's each meetup or visit with the family is really different. It might be, just bringing over and eating dinner with them. We've got some really rock star volunteers who show up like every week on a specific night and help with the bedtime routine. It usually does include some sort of practical support or like a care package, which is where the Love Box program gets its name. But that might also be, taking the kids out for a fun activity or whatever it might be that month. In the Dare to Dream program, that's our one-on-one support. So this is the mentoring program for youth at risk of aging out of foster care. So in Dare to Dream, we match a mentor with a youth ages 11 to 22 who is at risk of or has aged out of the foster system to, again, first and foremost, provide healthy relationship, but then to fill some of the gaps that we see. So maybe it's, driver's ed or opening their first bank account or college exploration. We've got mentors who take their youth on college visits and, help them explore interviewing and all of those good things that are some of those specific gaps that we see. What's been really, really cool, and as I describe these, neither of them are like particularly revolutionary in the idea, right? It's the execution that we bring. It's the structure and the support of our program coordinators and the trauma-informed practices and the consistency with which we do them. But what's really neat is, walking alongside a foster family in the Love Box program has led to, over the past 5 years, 98% foster parent retention rate. We've had 2% of our homes close, while supporting the Love Box program, which has been incredible. And one of the first times that I gathered with a group of our foster parents who had been supported by our programs for about a year and a half, they each just started sharing stories about how they'd been impacted by the program, and kind of unprompted, I just asked them to introduce themselves. But one of the families shared about they had moved to Georgia from California. They didn't have family or community here. They were thinking, we're going to take a break from fostering. We can't take kids right now. It was the middle of COVID. They took an emergency respite placement. They were only supposed to be there for a couple of days. They ended up staying a little longer. They got referred to our programs. We got them matched. This is now, at this point, 5 years later, those kids are adopted. They're in the process now of adopting their third kiddo. But what they shared at the time was, when we went to the adoption for our two kids, and I hadn't shared my story that I just shared about the judge in court, but she was sharing, and she said, we were there and there were so many people in the courtroom. The judge couldn't believe it. We had our Atlanta Angels and and I was like, you have no idea. Like, that was one of my things. I was like, I want people in the courtroom for the kids, So just been really cool to see how a program that really is fairly simple in concept, so incredibly impactful in execution. Our homes are staying open, and really importantly, the kids are staying in stable placements while they're in those homes. In Dare to Dream, one of our primary kind of outcome markers is we want to see more kids graduating from high school. The average is around 50%. And over the past 5 years, 93% of our kids in our Dare to Dream program.
Oh,
Yeah.
We love
Yeah, have
them
graduated.
90s, 98.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Same.
Come on, Atlanta
Yeah,
Angels,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Been so cool. So, yeah, and several of those kids have gone on to post secondary education and jobs and apartments, and um, so just really, really neat to see the impact of that healthy adult, really, the relationship.
No, absolutely. Like, we love impact. Yes, like just so good. So good.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you breaking down furthermore your programming between the Love Box, Dare to Dream, and then what that looks like, and then just more of the impact that you've been able to see over the last 5 years, and what that's
Mm-hmm.
going to continue to look like for years upon years upon years, and just hearing the stories, right? And that's what it's about. That's what
Yeah.
impact is about. Is truly the lives you change and the stories that come from that. So, yes. Ooh, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And like you say this, and I understand where it comes from, Christy. It's not a revolutionary idea. You brought up execution. There's a system in place. There is process in place, and that makes it easy for everyone to show up and do his or her job that they've committed to for the foster child, and wherever their heart to serve in that comes from. You're providing not just an opportunity for them to feel good about what they're doing, but also again that sense of community through Lovebox, and then also as you're showing up in different ways, having the the families know that they have support. Like you said, being held accountable is a big thing that was missing for a lot of those families, is what it sounds like. And so I'm just glad that you are able to do that in your way, because it may seem simple, but if it was that easy, well, everybody would be doing it, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so you,
Simple doesn't always mean easy, for sure, for sure. And our ability to support the volunteers, and provide structure and training and all of that for them is really the difference maker. And we've mentioned community a couple of times, but that's one of our core values, of course, is community. And um, you know it's not just for our families or for the kids, it's for the volunteers too. We always have a need for volunteers. I would love for people who are listening, who are here in Metro Atlanta, to say, I would love to walk alongside a foster family as a love box leader or a youth as a mentor. We do provide all the support needed. And it is, like you were saying, just as impactful for those volunteers. We do annual surveys and we collect feedback all the time. And it's so cool to hear the volunteers also talk about how much it's impacted them and their lives as they've walked alongside the families and the youth. One of our mentees, who became the first person in his biological family to graduate from high school, such a cool story. His mentor started as his tutor, so we got him connected as a tutor, and as he's supporting him academically, he reached out to us to say, I want to do more. So we got him connected and trained up, and placed as his mentor, walked alongside him. They actually got to graduate. The mentee graduated high school the same month that the mentor graduated from college. The mentor reached back out as he was applying to med school and shared that, out of all the other prep I've done and clinical hours I've done, the most impactful thing I've done over the past couple of years to prepare me for the next stage of my life has been mentoring my mentee. And so, there's always the, can I do it? Do I have time? Am I capable? And I promise that it will be just as, if not more impactful for you as the volunteer or the mentor as it is for the family or the youth.
yeah. Listen, y'all, you heard her. You can. It's on your
Mm-hmm.
heart. If
Yeah.
it's on the front of your mind, you can. And this is the organization. Christy is the person. She has the devoted team to get
Yeah.
you
Yep.
enabled, ready to go, ready to serve, ready to mentor, ready to be a love box, a volunteer. Like, there's a will, there's a way, and I know somebody that knows the way. Just have the will. Just have the will. So good, so great. Christy, we're moving into the second portion of the conversation in the show here. It's called In Good Light. So, for our first time listeners and Christy, In Good Light is just a fun way to get to know you a little bit more around who you are, things outside of work, life, all the things. It was supposed to be a knee jerk reaction, a quick rapid fire round, but it ended up being a lot better than that because good questions require good answers. So it was never as quick as we wanted it to be. So just say, yeah, let's just have some more fun with getting to know our guests here. So with that being said, you're a dog mom.
Yep.
You're a dog mom. Tell us about your baby, your fur baby, and how you came about being a dog mom, because there's always a lot of fun stories on I didn't grow up with the dog, or we fostered and then adopted. So would love to hear about um, how your pretty little pooch ended up being a part of the family.
So we have two dogs. We have an Aussie Doodle Scooter. He's 8, and a Cavapoo Rocket, who is 7 months. So he's our puppy, our newest addition. It is funny as you're saying that. I was like, how did I become? We did have a dog. We got a German Shepherd when I was, I think, like 8 as a kid. That was my kind of one dog growing up. But I was a huge fan of The Wizard of Oz as a kid. Like, I watched it on repeat. I was Dorothy 2 years in a row for Halloween,
Excellent.
and just loved Toto. And so I always wanted a Yorkie. And it was actually the year before my husband and I were getting married. We each were like, we're getting the dog we each want before we get married, and we'll bring them together. So he got a big Shepherd mixed dog, and I was on the shelter website like daily looking for the right small dog for me. And this little Yorkie somehow came through, and it was another one of those. I was in the middle of something, and I left my house in the middle of something and was like, ran to the shelter. I was like, this is my dog. So she is how I had my first, like, personally my own first dog, and she actually just passed away earlier this year at 15 and a half. So that's when we decided to add Rocket to our family several months later. But she was my childhood dream of having a Yorkie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, all dogs go to heaven.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
15 is beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're so happy that Rocket is a part of the family now. He's super cute. He's super cute.
He's
I will
super,
say,
yeah.
I haven't really seen a Cavapoo before. So I was like, oh, I mean, I'm used to King Cavaliers mixed with the Cocker Spaniels. Like that's like a.
Mhm.
I'm from Ohio. I feel like everyone has a Cocker Spaniel or a Cavalier or a mix of the two. Like every other family, I feel like if they have a
Mhm.
smaller dog. But a Cavapoo, I was like, oh, okay. I have a. I don't think I've actually talked about this that much on the Good Service podcast. I have a pet servicing business, so
Oh.
I'll board or I will. If you need a house sit while you're away doing vacation things with the family. So when I was laid off in 2023, I was kind of hanging out. I was like, hey, I'm not in no rush to go back to work and to figure this thing out. And one of my friends is like, you love dogs and like you're like Dr. Doolittle with all that types of animals. Why don't start a rover? And I'm like, that is a genius idea. And because I work remotely, I still do it. So families out there, I mean, cats are cool. Cats are cool. There's some that are crazy, but cats are cool. But dogs are the bee's knees, the place to be. So, love that, love that, love that. Uh, Big Braves fan.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm a Yankees fan. I grew up a Yankees fan, but I grew up in Atlanta. I always liked the hometown team. And my husband's a huge Braves fan, born and raised in Atlanta, and our daughter is. So as a family, yes,
As
we
a
are.
family,
But
yes.
I just have to give the shout out too. I was a born and raised Yankees fan, actually.
Okay. I'm not mad at it. We love a nice pinstripe. I hope they can figure out this
Mm-hmm.
whole playoffs thing because they.
Listen.
I know you know. I know you know. So, who's your favorite Yankee of all time?
Oh, a Jeter. I
Got
mean,
to be captain,
they,
right?
the era I got to grow up watching the Yankees in was just, World Series after World Series, Jeter, start to finish. Like,
Yep.
yeah, it was great.
You watch this documentary?
I haven't.
Oh,
No, I haven't.
listen, you got homework.
I'll put it on
It's
the list. Okay.
ESPN, the same director and producer did Michael Jordan's, also
Uh,
did Derek Jeter's.
okay.
So
Okay. Well,
I'm
they're
not,
friends too,
they
Jordan
are.
and Jeter.
So if you watch the one that came out during the pandemic with Michael Jordan,
Mhm.
a phenomenal cinema
Yeah. Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
So you got some homework, sister.
Okay. Love it.
It was like 5 or 6 episodes, and then maybe an hour and a half, but it was so good. And
Gotta get
it
on it.
dives
Yeah.
back into that era. I mean, we were in
Yeah. Yeah.
elementary school during that time, and it's like you
Oh my
don't
gosh. Oh my
realize,
gosh. Well, not just Jeter, the core four. I
yeah,
mean, it was the team, the Rivera and Posada, and yeah.
mhm.
I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like you're living in history until you take a step back and like that is really what was going on. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
so
cool.
I love it. Who is the family favorite player for the Braves?
Uh, my daughter really loves Ozzy Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr., but really Austin Riley because namesake. My daughter's
Yeah,
name is Riley, and she actually has a jersey with Austin Riley's number on it, but it's Riley
girlfriend
spelled
name.
the way she spells it on the back. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. Does she have her
Yeah.
pearls?
Uh, yeah, we did. We did the year those got popular. Yep.
Yeah,
She does.
I remember because I've only lived in Atlanta 6 years. Coming out of the pandemic, like 2021, I'm pretty sure that was the World Series run,
Hmm.
and they were just. I'm like, everyone's wearing pearls. Everybody's wearing
Yeah,
pearls. If you got a jersey on, and it's Braves, and it's Austin Riley, you got your pearls on, and yeah, it was amazing atmosphere at the Battery. So they've got a
yeah,
good thing
so
going.
fun.
Hopefully, they can figure it out
Hmm.
this year.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, we'll,
being an
we'll see.
Atlanta sports fans, we're all up and down.
And so, are you a Falcons fan and a Hawks fan then, or not as much?
I'm really baseball. I don't. I'm not quite as passionate about the other sports, but
That's
our household, yes, Falcons, Hawks, yeah,
so.
Atlanta sports all the way. Hmm.
Yeah, I have come to find in my time here that it's Atlanta United, it's the Georgia Bulldogs, and it's the Atlanta Braves, and the other teams kind of just are there. And
Oh,
so,
well, I'm gonna really blow your mind. We're a tech family. We're a tech family, not UGA.
listen, even better. Like I feel like there's even fewer of you, even though the school's
Yeah.
literally right here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I love it. I went to my first tech game earlier this year. Awesome experience.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so fun.
I'm like,
Hmm.
wow. Okay. And they've been doing their thing in the top 25 all year and this close to making a playoff. I was
Hmm.
devastated that they didn't because I was like, they've been the games they lost,
You're
they
close.
shouldn't.
Close. I know. Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, next year, they
Hmm.
got it. They
Yeah.
got a good thing going. So I'm sure that's exciting for you as well.
Hmm.
Okay, some of my favorite questions we ask here at the Good Service Podcast. Uh, Finish this sentence. The world would be a better place if.
If everyone leaned into their passion and calling.
Mm. Yep. Double tapping that one. Not enough of us do. What would be your words of encouragement there for people to tap into their calling and their gifts?
I I think it was Mother Teresa who talked about, the small things each day that, um, but I think a lot of us just feel overwhelmed by a problem, right? Like I can't solve it alone. And that's, was kind of the purpose of Atlanta Angels. I'm like, I can't change this by myself, but as a community, we can. But also that, it's okay to lean into your thing. The way I kind of jokingly say it, and I love the sea turtles, but I'm like, I don't particularly care about the sea turtles. I'm not saving the sea turtles, but like, thank goodness there's someone who is, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
we can't do it all. But I think that if everyone leaned into their one thing, there are enough of us to solve all the problems. And I think that's the difference. You can't solve them all yourself, but you can kind of stay really focused in your area. So, doing something is better than nothing, I think would be my encouragement.
I like it. I like it a lot, especially with what's going on in the world nowadays. It's like every day it's something that's just like, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I put my cape on and be in every place at once? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
your sphere of influence is more than enough
Mm-hmm. Yep.
starting point, because who knows where
Yep.
else it goes. It could turn into an Atlanta Angels experience or the Good Service podcast or something, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is for you.
Yep.
No, I absolutely love that answer. Um, what is your definition of good service?
Hmm. I think it's service that doesn't ask what's in it for me. Yeah.
Service that doesn't ask what's in it for me. Yeah, because it's to serve is not about us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, we do get a good sense of feel good afterward, but that's because that's from putting someone else first.
For sure. There's gonna be something in it for you. I think it's what's the motivation, right?
Hmm. No, I like something you said earlier in the conversation too about filling the gaps
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and to see a need, to fill a need, and then to do so with just the right heart posture.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think not just what's doesn't ask what's in it for me, but it's just not about me, period, right? Which also means when I'm stepping in to walk alongside someone else, I'm asking them what they need, not making assumptions of what I think that they need, right? So really other focused from the standpoint of why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it.
Listen, y'all, she's talking good, ain't she? Yes, yes. I mean, she been talking that talk, but woo! Come on, sister. Yes. Oh, all right, all right. So we got your definition of good service. You understand from your point of view will make the world a better place. Where does your heart to serve come from?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, so many, yeah,
Was there like a
ways and
moment as
places.
a kid or
Yeah, I've always been a people person. I've always loved stepping in. Um, I'm for those who know the Enneagram, I'm a 3, so I'm going to get it done. But I'm a wing 2, so what success looks like for me is helping people. But I think a lot about over the past several years. All my grandparents, unfortunately, have passed away, but each time I've kind of reflected on the legacy that they've left and that I've seen, through their funerals and the things that they've said, and it's always been service oriented, and none of them started huge organizations or were famous, but had such an incredible impact on their small communities. My grandma and grandpa, they sent all 8 of their kids to the same Catholic private school. And when we went to their funeral, the school, like all the kids lined up outside because of the, impact that they had over the years. And um, uh, my other grandpa, when we went, like his mail lady was there, and I was like, my mail, person doesn't know who I am to come to my funeral, but like that was to me, it said so much, because it was like the people in their community, like they knew them and they saw them, and they would share these stories. My grandpa, people would stop and compliment his flowers a lot, and so he started having like extras where he would start the plant. When they would compliment him, he would give them one so that they could grow their own. And it was just these like small daily acts of service. My grandma, until she could no longer drive, was driving other people who couldn't drive themselves to church, and it just showing up all the time. So it was a long-winded way of saying I think my family and my grandparents and my parents kind of created a legacy of service, and like that's just how we show up. And it's just something that I've seen lived out for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so amazing. Like, thank you for sharing about your grandparents, and as you really thought about where your heart to service comes from. It's, some people are like, it's faith rooted, or it's family, or maybe something happened and it was like, you know what, that'll never happen again to anybody else. The whole hero versus villain complex. I'm a big nerd when it comes to Marvel and DC things. Uh, because somehow something can happen to the same person, and one becomes, kryptonite, and the other becomes Superman. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
that idea. But to hear about legacy and that you saw it, we're creatures that do as we see, not necessarily as we're told.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so for you to see that, and your interactions with your grandparents, but also, as their lives were being celebrated, like, man, I'm like, now you got me thinking about my mail lady, Miss Charmaine. Like, I talk to her all the time. I'm like, what's Charmaine? I'm like, I don't know. But like that just is so cool to hear that even he would give flowers to people. It's just like, so special. And that is just coursing through your veins, your double helix. That's DNA, everybody. I just nerded out a little bit.
Well, listen, that's why I said it's hard to answer. I think it's, a combination of all of those things for sure. That, it's rooted in my faith. It's what scripture says. It's what I've seen in my family. It's experiences that I've had walking through the system myself, saying, I don't want it to be this way anymore. I think it's so many different things, but where did it come from? Gosh, that's a tough question.
Hey, I want to make sure this is the best interview you've ever had. So I'm going to ask you to bring the fun along the way too. So, no, you are excellent. You've been excellent. And unfortunately, this part of the show is called Before We Go. So it's as it sounds, everybody, unfortunately. But in this moment, I'm actually going to turn things over to you, Christy, to shamelessly plug away. How can people volunteer? How can they donate? How can they find Angels, Atlanta Angels? How can they will be a love box or a mentee? So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes. We need all the people. What, we say all the time, not everyone's called to foster or adopt, but everyone can do something. And so, if you've heard anything today that makes you say, like, man, I want to make a difference in the foster care community, you can donate at atlantaangels.org/donate. Become a monthly donor at $10, $25, make a one-time gift, join our golf tournament or gala. We've got the golf tournament on April 20th, gala August 29th this year, but they're annual, of course. We need love box leaders and mentors. So the first step is just attending a discovery session, no commitment, but come to really learn more about what it looks like, how we support you. And that's atlantaangels.org/volunteer. You'll learn everything about volunteering. So there really just is something for everyone. And, we have big goals. We're supporting, about close to 200 kids a month right now between our Love Box and Dare to Dream programs. But I've said it several times now, there's 3,000 children in foster care in Metro Atlanta. So there's a gap. We truly our vision is that every family would be supported and every child would have the opportunity to reach their fullest potential. So, for that to happen, we need people to step up and volunteer. So AtlantaAngels.org is where you find everything. You can follow us on Instagram at Atlanta_angels. All along on all the things. And what I would just leave with is, again, there's no special training or background needed. Everyone can do something. We, believe that every child deserves a healthy adult who knows the colors of their eyes and the passions of their heart. And, it doesn't take any special qualifications to do that, but just the ability to, and the willingness to show up consistently. And there's so much power in showing up for a kid consistently and telling them that they matter.
You just your child deserves someone to know the colors of their eyes and the passions of their hearts. Like, come on, like that is just yes. If y'all didn't feel that, I mean, you are more than right. You are so right. You're not up, you're not down, you're not left. You are right. You are so right. And yes, all of this will be in the write-up, the website, the Instagram, and socials. So you all know where to find them. And of course, we'll continue to promote. And you have however it can be from our side.
Oh, just real quick, I've got to make a plug for our non-Atlanta listeners.
Yes.
Nationalangels.org. Go to nationalangels.org, click on locations, and find a location closest to you. If you're not in Atlanta, it does not mean that there's not a way for you to plug in or become a Love Box leader, Dare to Dream mentor. We've got locations in 18 cities across the country, and hopefully not too far away, we'll be opening up chapter applications. If there's not one in your city yet, our vision is by 2050, we would have a chapter in every city to truly support every child in foster care. So nationalangels.org if you're not in Atlanta.
We're going to have it in the write-up. So wherever you're at outside of Atlanta, get involved. Figure it out. And if this is on your heart too, why not? Why not? So, Christie, thank you for everything. I do have one last thing for you. It's called closing remarks. So closing the show, whatever is on your heart right now, what do you have for the people to take? Just words of encouragement. It's your favorite lyric. It's a favorite verse, whatever it is. What is on your heart for closing remarks?
I don't, for some reason, this has been coming up for me a lot lately. So I'll just share this. That God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
Listen, you're already qualified. You're already qualified, yo. You hear? She's been talking good the last 60-something minutes. And she keeps talking good. You're already qualified. You're already qualified. So, and that's why he's calling you. So pick up the phone, answer the call, and you'll be surprised where it all takes you. So thank you so much for that. That was just so refreshing and so inspiring. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for another amazing episode and conversation with the Good Service Podcast. I am your host, your loving host, Joseph Dunham, Joe D. We are so grateful for those that join us for the first time to learn about who Christie is, who Atlanta Angels is, and their amazing work that they will continue to do, that they've been doing. And we hope you come back. We know you'll come back. You can't just watch or listen to this and not feel this good and be like, oh my gosh, how can we get involved? Or how can we tap back in? So you know where to find us. Share this as well. If this did something for you, or you know someone that is similarly adjacent to Christie's story, or is within the foster care system themselves as a servant leader, please share this, because this will go a long way. But of course, our community and family that comes back, you know the deal. You're always liking, subscribing, commenting, all the things. We love the notifications and the emails. So thank you for the referrals. Thank you to Tyler Royal, our brother, a good man. You're the greatest. Without you, this would not happen. So that's all we have for us and Miss Christie. And with that, have an amazing rest of your day, wherever this finds you, however it finds you. And we'll see you again here soon for another excellent episode of the Good Service Podcast.